everyone, my name's Michaela.
And I'm Isis.
And today we're here in an oak woodland riparian area in Sonoma County, which is on the unceded territory of the Southern Pomo, Coast Miwok, and Wapo people.
We are about to take you on a walk where we will practice making nature observations and participating in community science using an app called Inaturalist.
We'll be paying special attention to how biodiversity and climate change can determine the species we see.
It's easier than you might think. Let's get started.
Climate change disrupts Earth's natural systems, which has resulted in biodiversity loss. Climate change refers to the human-caused changes on land, in the oceans, and in the atmosphere from burning fossil fuels for energy. When we burn fossil fuels, we add greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This buildup acts like a blanket that traps heat around the world. The thicker the blanket gets, the more heat it traps underneath. The blanket effect leads to warming, which disrupts the climate. This might look like extended and more frequent droughts, severe wildfires, and floods. These changes in climates affect plants and animals by disrupting their habitats and homes. This influences the varieties of plants and animals that we see now and will see in the future. Let's see what plants and animals are here today.
By observing nature, we learn to better understand our ecosystems and recognize when something changes. It is our responsibility to protect the variety of life on Earth, also called biodiversity, from the harm caused by climate change. Like we mentioned earlier, when we burn fossil fuels, we disrupt the natural balance on Earth. As a result of the changing climate, biodiversity has declined. This is called biodiversity loss. To better protect biodiversity from the effects of climate change, one thing we can do right now is make a nature observation. Let's try it out. When you do this, remember these prompts. I notice, I wonder, and this reminds me of... While you made your observation, did you think about how caterpillars interact with other plants and animals in this area? It's important to remember the big picture, that all animals, plants, and fungi rely on each other to thrive. Habitats with lots of biodiversity are more resilient to climate change. Fun fact, did you know that Sonoma County lies within a global biodiversity hotspot called the California Floristic Province? Our home is one of the most biodiverse spots in the world. You might be wondering how you can help protect biodiversity. One way to do this is through community science.
Community science is a way for all of us to record our nature observations and help scientists keep an eye on biodiversity and climate change. Community science is a global movement through which scientists and non-scientists alike make observations, collect data, and help answer some of our planet's most pressing questions. We will show you how to participate in a community science project using iNaturalist. iNaturalist is a social network of naturalists, community scientists, and biologists built on the concept of mapping and sharing observations of biodiversity across the globe. You can make your own observations on iNaturalist, or you can contribute to a project. For example, today we're going to be contributing to the Regal Ranch Biodiversity Project. We'll show you how it works. Come over here. I noticed a leaf that I want to make an iNaturalist observation of. First, I'm going to use my senses to make some observations about it. I notice that there are 5 leaves on each little branch. I wonder what kind of animal or insect might eat it. It reminds me of grapes. Now I'm going to take a few photos of it from different angles. Now I'm going to upload the pictures to the iNaturalist app. Here in the notes section, I can add my observations, I can add the location of where I found it, and see if I can find out what it is. Even if I don't know exactly what kind of plant or animal I'm observing, Inaturalist will suggest possibilities. You can agree with Inaturalist suggestions, or you can select unknown, and somebody else on Inaturalist can comment what they think it might be. Before you click share, make sure that you select the project you want to contribute to. Now, you're ready to share your first Inaturalist observation and contribute to community science. We can use data from community science to help mitigate climate change and improve biodiversity. There are so many ways to fight climate change, but we're going to focus on just a few that relate to what we've talked about today. One way that we can help fight climate change with nature observation is using what we see in nature to inspire the design and production of materials, structures, and systems that are modeled on biological entities and processes to address climate change. This is called biomimicry. We're already seeing this happen. Think about how this leaf makes energy from the sun through photosynthesis, and how we as humans mimic this with solar panels, which take the sun's energy and turn it into electricity that power our lives in a more sustainable way. Using renewable energy, like solar, to power our lives reduces our dependence on fossil fuels. The less fossil fuels we use, the less greenhouse gases are released into our atmosphere. The heat-trapping blanket gets thinner and thinner until we eventually reach a balanced climate system. Consider how many solutions like this exist in nature. Now all we have to do is notice them.
Another way we can fight climate change with nature observation is by tracking changes in phenology. Phenology refers to the study of species' natural cycles, especially in relation to climate. This might include the life cycles of plants and animals, the seasonal timing of bird migration, plant budding, flowering, or fruiting, and insect activities. For example, climate change can impact our local weather, like changing the length of our seasons. When winter is shorter and spring comes early, you might expect to see some plants blooming when they would normally be dormant. These seemingly small shifts can have a huge impact on the whole ecosystem and an area's biodiversity. It's important to keep an eye on these phenological changes through nature observation, and it's even better when these observations are recorded. This is where community science tools like Inaturalist can be very helpful in the fight against climate change.
Thank you for joining us on this walk today.
We covered a lot of different things, so let's take a moment to review.
Today we talked about how climate change disrupts Earth's natural systems, which has resulted in biodiversity loss.
How observing nature allows us to better understand our ecosystems and recognize when something changes.
How community science is a way for all of us to record our nature observations and help scientists keep an eye on biodiversity and climate change.
How we can all use data from community science to help mitigate climate change and improve biodiversity. We hope you learned something new in this video. Let us know what you learned and how you plan to participate in climate action and community science in the comments below.
We invite you each to try out your own nature observation and community science skills the next time you're out in nature. You could be exploring your neighborhood or out on a hike. If you think you need a little reminder about what you learned in this session, download or screenshot this flyer, also linked in the description below, or look for it posted at your favorite trailhead. Remember, participating in community science allows us to better understand our ecosystems while also fighting the impacts of climate change. And it's easier than you might think.
Thanks for watching.
Bye now.